When it comes to the film and television medium of adapting comic books, it's always been much easier to do so through animation than live action, until more recently, that is. However, without some of these fantastic shows demonstrating the potential for great comic book storylines to be seen as compelling film and television narratives, we wouldn't even have the live action films taking the risks they do today. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to create new content. With that being said, I'm your host, Jamie, and here are 10 greatest animated superhero shows. Number 1, Batman, the Animated Series. Whether you're a DC or Marvel fan, almost everyone can agree that this show was a pure masterpiece in superhero storytelling. With its distinct dark noir style, to its almost adult storylines and deep character explorations, this show defined the Dark Knight for many generations to come. Voiced by the late great Kevin Conroy, the show saw Batman in his earlier days, before he became godlike and unbeatable, when he had to rely on his detective skills more and outsmarting his opponents to catch them. He was still haunted by the death of his parents, the main motivation for him to become the Bat. But there was still some life in him. His alter ego, Bruce Wayne, was still part of him at this point, before he started using it as a mask. And he still believed he could save the villains from themselves, genuinely help them return to a normal life. As the series went on, we saw this change, becoming more resentful and willing to do whatever it took to stop his enemies, which often put him at odds with other superheroes in the universe. Such a fantastic series. If you somehow haven't seen it, hop over to Amazon Prime or YouTube TV to check it out. Number 2, XMen. With the return of the series in the form of XMen 97, you almost definitely need to see this show as part of the greater MCU and the introduction of the mutants into the main timeline. The new series is basically Season 6, continuing from where the 90s series left off. And if rumors are correct, this is the timeline that the mutants will hail from when they are finally introduced fully into the live-action MCU franchise. From the epic theme song to the comics, accurate animation, and talented voice cast, the stories covered by this animated show were both socially relevant and just adult enough to challenge its younger audience to think about bigger issues through the world, while still giving them all the butt-kicking they craved. If you're looking for a full breakdown of the series, I'd suggest heading over to New Rockstars. They did an excellent rundown. Otherwise, check out the show for yourself over on Amazon Prime and Disney+. Number 3, SpiderMan, the Animated Series. Fox Kids was on a roll in the mid-90s, not only with the hit X-Men series, but then the standalone Spider-Man series basically inspired a whole new generation of fans and revitalized the brand massively, prompting the studios to think of making their foray into live action. It basically followed the early days of Spider-Man, when young Peter Parker was bit by the radioactive spider and gained his powers. Soon, with his heightened senses and increased strength and agility, he finds himself fighting criminals, and given the attention his crime fighting is drawing in the local newspaper, he needs to come up with a costume to hide his secret identity. The show is filled with teenage drama, amazing characters, and powerful stories. It's easy to see why Spider-Man is Marvel's most beloved character. Check it out for yourself over on Amazon Prime and Disney+. Number 4, Justice League and JL Unlimited. I'm combining both Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, since they are basically the same series, with a production gap between them. a spin-off essentially of the animated Batman and Superman shows. This was the first big animated series that saw a large portion of the DC roster finally appear on the screen. Yes, back in the day, they had the Justice Society and Superman and Friends, but those shows mainly focused on the core 7. Here we got to see the likes of Mr. Terrific, various Green Lanterns, Vixen, The Question, Hawkgirl, Dr. Fate, Etrigan, and more. The action was bigger, the villains more dangerous, and the storylines more varied as many focused on side characters to explore the greater DC universe. If there's one thing DC deserves credit for, it's their amazing animation and animated storytelling abilities. I highly recommend watching it if you're a fan, so head over to Netflix, Max, or Amazon Prime to check it out.
Hey folks, sorry to interrupt, but we just launched our very own merch store at fatninja.shop. We sell everything from t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and more, so we would greatly appreciate it if you checked it out. All the proceeds go to our future projects, so it helps us make any kind of movies and short films that we want to make in the future. So if you got time, check out fatninja.shop. Thanks again, and back to the video.
Number 5, Invincible. The newest series on this list, it is just in the middle of its second season currently, and everyone is talking about it. Based on the comic series by Robert Kirkman, the same man behind the wildly popular Walking Dead franchise, it follows Mark Grayson, son of the most powerful superhero on Earth, Omni-Man. Around his mid-teens, Mark begins to develop his powers, finding out he can basically take a harsh beating, which gives him the idea to call himself Invincible. If you haven't seen the show, I don't want to spoil it, because around episode 3 to 4 is when the series starts to take a huge shift. And not all characters are what they appear to be. Filled with epic fights, entertaining villains, and plenty of drama, this show, however, is definitely not for kids. So head over to Amazon Prime to check it out. Number 6, Avengers Assemble. There have been numerous Marvel animated series to come out since the early 2000s, many focusing on the grand superhero team-up of the Avengers. And while shows like Earth's Mightiest Heroes was also pretty fantastic, this show combined the characterizations of the live-action MCU franchise and gave them more adventures, easily insertable in the time gaps of the mainline movies, without too much contradiction to the timeline events. All of your favorite characters are here, plus more. And it really does a good job at fleshing out the characters and their backstories. Sadly, it was canceled after its 5th season, which left the series on a bit of a cliffhanger, but it's still a great watch. So head over to Disney Plus and see it for yourself. Number 7, Superman the Animated Series. The light counterpart to the darkness in the Batman series, Superman was filled with hope and the American dream, following Smallville's own Clark Kent as he rises to the challenge, donning the blue spandex to take on foes of various difficulties, while spending the other half of his life on the ground reporting on events happening across Metropolis. It always made me wonder when he actually made time to sleep. What made this show so amazing, though, was as indestructible and powerful Superman is, he could still lose a battle, especially when it came to the notion that there would be more casualties if he kept fighting, instead giving himself up over to the enemy. Superman was the original superhero, and the series shows you exactly why that is. So make sure to check it out over on Max or Amazon Prime. Number 8, Young Justice. I wasn't a fan of the Teen Titans growing up, I was more into the adult superheroes. But that doesn't mean it wasn't a great series, and I know many of you out there hold the series in high esteem. However, Young Justice took those same teenage superheroes and somehow made them more adult. Their stories were more compelling, the characters had deeper and more relatable backstories, and the action and animation was phenomenal. This show was unfortunately a casualty of Warner Brothers' cost cutting before their merger with Discovery, and so it was canceled twice because it was said to be too expensive to produce, which kind of sucks. But they did eventually get a chance to make one final season to wrap up most of the loose plot threads. Each season is a new generation of the team as they grow older, and with this, their relationships and outlooks change, which is really cool to see. Make sure to check it out for yourself over on Max. Number 9, Batman Beyond. The sequel to Batman the Animated Series we never knew we needed. It sees a much older Bruce Wayne, long since retired from being Batman, having lost many friends along the way and never truly finding someone to take up his mantle. That is, until he meets Terry, a clone of himself. Through the help of people like Amanda Waller, Bruce trains Terry in the ways of being a detective and effective crime fighter, along with a new suit and upgraded futuristic technologies. The show even sees some classic Batman villains come back to destroy the Bat legacy. But even the new villains are pretty well crafted and interesting. Rumors have it that there might be a potential Batman Beyond live action film. But I guess we will find out once Gunn begins releasing his new DCU films. Either way, if you've blazed through the original series and can't get enough Batman, hop over to Max or Amazon Prime and check the series out. Number 10, Gargoyles. No one at Fox expected this series to reach the popularity it did. At this time, there were several shows trying to capitalize on the superhero mutant craze. From Street Sharks to Samurai Pizza Cats and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What sets Gargoyles apart from these other bombastic shows, though, is its incredibly dark tone and adult storytelling. Just like Batman the Animated Series, this was one of those rare cartoons that didn't treat their younger audience as naive children, and rather challenge them to look at deeper meanings while still offering some kick-ass action moments and cool superpowers. The overall premise saw a group of gargoyles who have spent the better part of 1,000 years in an enchanted petrified state, transported from medieval Scotland to modern-day New York City, where they are reawakened and take on the role of the city's secret nighttime protectors. Over the course of the series, you learn their origins and they are faced with various supernatural world-ending threats. An amazing voice cast, beautiful animation, and a thrilling score. This series will keep you glued to the screen, so make sure to check it out over on Disney+, YouTube TV, or Fandango. Thanks for checking out the video. Did we leave any series off the list? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at StudiosFat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. Make sure to check out our very own merch store located at fatninja.shop. All proceeds go towards our next film project, so we'd greatly appreciate it. I've been your host, Jamie. Thanks again, and take care.